What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a very long time since we have heard anything about Armor Wars, but today we have an update. It's crazy to think that this was announced in 2020 and we are now in 2025. In December of 2020, Kevin Feige officially announced that this was going to be a series at Disney's Investors Day. It was originally supposed to be a series, but then in 2022, they announced that it was going to be made into a movie instead. However, things really seem to have changed for this project with Secret Invasion. And Secret Invasion was not received very well by the fans, especially when they revealed that Rhodey has been a Skrull the entire time since Captain America Civil War. That really made people upset because that meant it wasn't actually Rhodey with Iron Man right before Tony died in Avengers Endgame. It wasn't him in Infinity War who got snapped. It wasn't him at the funeral for Tony Stark at the end of Avengers Endgame. It was a creative decision that people really didn't like, and it also made us very confused as to what exactly was going to happen in Armor Wars. If Rhodey has been out of it, if he was captured by the Skrull and essentially put into stasis since Civil War, how exactly were we going to go into Armor Wars? Well, it looks like Marvel Studios and Disney might be kind of trying to retcon some of the events that happened in Secret Invasion. And if they do this, I think they would make a lot of fans happy. Now, they didn't actually say how long Rhodey had been a Skrull for in the events of Secret Invasion, but the director did come out and state he has been a Skrull since Civil War. And I know with Secret Invasion, there's a lot that fans have complained about, but this decision that Marvel Studios might be going through with might make fans a little bit happier with what's going on with Rhodey in the MCU. And in fact, they could make it to where Rhodey was actually Rhodey the entire time and he wasn't a Skrull. And the good news is it's not really that hard to do this since it wasn't really mentioned in the series. Sure, the director confirmed it, but we could just ignore that. And according to this new report, that might be what Marvel Studios is going to do. Now, like I mentioned, it's been a while since we've heard anything about Armor Wars. In fact, the last thing that we heard was from Don Cheadle himself. When asked about the project, he simply said, "You can find out and let me know," as in he hasn't heard anything about it. And according to the latest report, it's on hold, not canceled yet at least, just on hold. According to industry insider Daniel RPK, he stated this: "I've heard that Armor Wars is on hold, not canceled. They're reworking it after the backlash from Secret Invasion. And at this point, it's looking like it'll only happen post Secret Wars. It's also expected to focus on entirely different things than originally planned." Now, that second part, it focusing on entirely different things than originally planned, doesn't come at that big of a surprise because from what we know, the Vision Quest project is actually taking a lot from what Armor Wars was originally going to be when it was a series, primarily having to do with Ultron and Tony Stark tech. Originally, what they told us Armor Wars was supposed to be about was what happens when Tony Stark tech falls into the wrong hands. And they could obviously still explore that. However, since Armor Wars is most likely coming out now after Secret Wars, a lot will have happened since the last time we saw Rhodey. Plus, not to mention, if Marvel does decide to do any type of reboot, whether a hard or soft reboot after Avengers Secret Wars, that'll really change the dynamic of the MCU moving forward. However, it does say that they are pretty committed to doing Armor Wars if they are planning for Rhodey to stick around after Secret Wars. It also brings the question of how is Rhodey exactly going to fit into the story of Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars? Well, that brings us back to basically undoing what Secret Invasion did, and it's really not that hard. I've seen plenty of people talk about ways that this could happen online, and a lot of them make sense. There's really many different routes that Marvel Studios could go down to simply undo the damage that Secret Invasion caused. And really the simplest way to do this is to adjust the timeline in which Rhodey was taken by the Skrull. Again, in Secret Invasion, they didn't actually say when he was taken, the director did. So if we just simply ignore the director, which isn't hard for most of the audience to do because most of the audience isn't going online every single day and looking at Marvel news, and most of the people who are probably want to ignore the director anyway. And if that happens, you could simply say Rhodey was taken after Avengers Endgame. That would make it to where basically everything that we've seen happen to Rhodey so far really happened to the actual Rhodey. So he went through the accident in Civil War. His legs are messed up, which explains why when he was taken out of the pod at the end of Secret Invasion, he couldn't walk because he didn't have any of the tech that Tony gave him. Plus, Secret Invasion took place after Avengers Endgame. In fact, we know that all of the blood samples that were taken were from the battlefield of Avengers Endgame. So they could simply say the Skrull at that point, when they were doing all of that after Endgame, that's when they went and took Rhodey. That literally would not affect anything that happened in Secret Invasion. It goes along with it just fine, even though I'm pretty sure fans probably wouldn't mind if it did affect what happened in Secret Invasion. Especially fans of the comics. Secret Invasion is one of the biggest events in Marvel Comics. It's huge, and nothing like what we got from the Disney Plus show. Unfortunately, I don't think Marvel Studios or Disney would simply take this away. Like, we've seen this happen before. We've seen Disney kind of remove things, like take shows off Disney Plus, act like they're not canon, act like they never happened. I don't think they'll do that for Secret Invasion. But if they're going to retcon what happened with Rhodey and simply say, hey, yeah, Rhodey was taken after Avengers Endgame, the Skrull only replaced him for a little bit, like half a year to a year. Everything that you saw happen to him before actually happened to him, all the events of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. That way they kind of take that slap in the face back. And even Don Cheadle seemingly didn't really like what they did. When talking about the big reveal that Cheadle was a Skrull all along since Civil War, he said, it wasn't a demand, it was a request. What do you think about playing this? And it was to set up stuff in the following thing. So if the following thing happens and all those things were set up, then that's one thing. If, as you said, it doesn't, then we can talk about how I feel about it after. So it looks like they were trying to set some things up for Armor Wars, but again, since so many things have changed since they announced that project, and fans really did not like Secret Invasion that much, and they especially did not like the fact that the director came out and said since Civil War, Rhodey has been a Skrull, then yeah, it's easy to see how all of that has affected the release of Armor Wars, plus not to mention what they actually want to do with the story. Because again, since it's been delayed for so long and they wanted to get some aspects of the story for Armor Wars in the Multiverse Saga, they ended up putting some of those aspects into the Vision Quest series, which does make sense because Vision himself and Ultron are both made from Tony Stark. I will say this is a good thing. I do want to see the Armor Wars movie. I think there's a lot of potential there, but I myself, like many of you, did not like the fact that they were saying Rhodey has been a Skrull ever since the ending of Civil War. So I think them undoing this, or basically them saying, hey, yeah, he was Rhodey all the way up until Endgame, then he was taken, I think that really saves the character, but it also really saves Armor Wars, because I think a lot of people probably weren't too interested in it after we learned that Rhodey's been a Skrull pretty much this entire time. And it is nice to know that Marvel Studios has seen the backlash that Secret Invasion got, and they are basically now kind of reassessing what to do to move forward in a better way. Hopefully it results in kind of a retcon, and hopefully it results in a better project, but we'll have to wait and see on that. It's on hold for now. Not canceled according to Daniel RPK, but who knows, they might cancel it. It really just depends on what they plan to do after Avengers Secret Wars. But go ahead, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. If they retconned it a little bit to where Rhodey was not a Skrull since Civil War, but was only taken after Endgame, would that make you happier, or do you just not care? Let me know down below in the comments. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news, rumors, or leaks. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.